All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Citrus Highlights, news from the city of Citrus Heights. I'm Nicole Baxter, Communications Officer, and today we are talking about the city's Auburn Boulevard Complete Streets Plan. And I have the honor of speaking with Leslie Bloomquist, the city's engineer, as well as Hunter Young, Principal Civil Engineer. So thank you both for joining us today.
Thanks, Nicole.
Great to be here.
Awesome. So, Leslie, I think we'll start with you. We talk a lot about complete streets plans, and I know that Auburn Boulevard isn't the only corridor with one. But let's take a step back and maybe you can explain to us what a complete street is in your world.
Sure. A complete street essentially is one that's designed with all users in mind. It prioritizes safety, comfort, and access for everyone. That includes pedestrians, bicyclists, transit users, and in addition to those that are in their personal vehicles. And they can look different from one corridor to the next. You're right, we are working on complete streets on multiple arterials. They also look different from one agency to the next, as they do take into consideration the adjacent community needs and context. But in general, they typically include sidewalks, bike lanes, special bus stop considerations, comfortable access to transit stops, frequent and safe crossing opportunities, narrower travel lanes, and more. The connection for transit is especially important on Auburn Boulevard because the Lewis Orlando Transit Center is located on the northern end of the corridor, which provides access to RT, Placer County Transit, and light rail, to name a few.
Awesome. Yeah. So when we talk about specifically Auburn Boulevard, I mean, that's such a traffic heavy corridor right now. Despite it being close to so many communities and schools and homes. So what areas of the Complete Streets Plan are you excited for to see on specifically Auburn Boulevard?
Sure, I'm particularly excited. We're working right now with phase 2, which is from Rush Park North to Orlando Avenue, which is just north of the northern city limits, closer to I-80 and city of Roseville. So I'm really excited to see the improvements that will happen there. We previously constructed phase 1 south of there, and you can see a drastic improvement. So I'm excited to see that continue.
Awesome. Yeah. So you talked about phase 1 and phase 2. Maybe walk us through the timeline. When did this project start with phase 1 and what did that look like? And where are we at now on that?
Sure, we've actually been working on this project for quite some time. This is one of the highest priority, if not the highest priority project for the city, at least in general services. And we started the project with Sylvan Corners improvements and completed phase 1 in 2014, which installed the complete streets elements up to Rush Park.
Awesome. And then what does phase 2 plan kind of look like now? Where are we at with that?
Sure, so we're going to continue these sidewalk improvements, bike lanes, all of those complete street elements up to Orlando. We're looking at a cost of approximately $23 million to do this. And so we've really been working hard over the last several years to find that money. I'm excited to say now that we are fully funded. We have the full $23 million. We were recently awarded the last $9 million as part of the SACOG local transportation competitive funding round in 2020. And previous to that, we had secured $14 million in other non-general funds, including $8 million in other previous grants. So it's very exciting that we can and are able to complete the design and move forward, hopefully into construction here in the next year or so.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's so exciting to hear, about that outside grant funding that we can use for this project. And I know because I got to be part of that team that it was a historic funding round for the city of Citrus Heights. Sounds like we had never received that much grant money from SACOG in one round. So very cool and exciting to see that, regionally, the Auburn Boulevard project is being prioritized too. We know we have a lot of drivers that come through our city and we want to improve the streets for them too. And complete streets, really, it feels like such a great nexus for both the community and those in the region. So thanks for talking through both phases and the funding. It's such an exciting project. Before we dive into my questions for Hunter, I just want to say hi to everyone who's tuning in live. We are talking about the Auburn Boulevard Complete Streets Plan, and I've got 2 awesome experts here today to answer your questions about that plan for Auburn Boulevard. So if you have questions, go ahead and drop them into the comments section. We'll try to take them at least at the end of the interview. So thanks everyone for joining us. So we'll dive back in. Hunter, Leslie just told us we're in phase 2 of this plan, and that kind of kicks off with the design phase. So I know you have an exciting opportunity for our community to engage. So let's talk about the gateway part of this and how folks can get involved.
Perfect. We have a great opportunity, as you mentioned, that we're going to be incorporating as part of our overall project. Reaching out to the community, we do have a kind of a gateway structure that we would like to implement as part of the overall project to welcome the community to Citrus Heights. Whether they're business owners, whether they're residents or coming from outside the area, we want a sense of identity and community. And to do that, we want to hear what you, the residents and community members think. And so that's part of this opportunity, and to take a public survey where we can solicit feedback, get some opinions, and then take that information before our city council and come up with a recommendation.
Awesome. Yeah. So tell us and our viewers today, like why you guys selected a gateway. You talked about a couple of the elements, and I'm going to go ahead and screen share right now so folks can see where on Auburn Boulevard that gateway is going to be. So hopefully everyone can see it right here. So for bearings, this is White Avenue, and this is Auburn Boulevard. We've got California Burgers and Tia, two of my favorite places ever. So Hunter, walk us through again, like some of the reasons why the city and the council wanted to explore a gateway option. What does that mean for the corridor?
Sure. I think the biggest opportunity is sense of community. Citrus Heights is a vibrant community. We've got some strong roots. We want some new growth, and we want to move in the direction of making sure that we stand out, that our residents, that our community can stand out amongst the broader regional community. And to do that with this historic Auburn Boulevard project, we're able to bring this structure and to welcome the community. It's going to be something that really puts us on the map. It can help bring some sense of unity to what the project is, and really link this particular phase of the project to the prior work that has been done in years past. So this is a great opportunity.
Awesome. Yeah, kind of bring the whole thing together and place make, put us on the map. I love that. So before we move into the gateway options, which I'm sure everyone is excited to see, I know that along with this gateway, while we're screen sharing this portion of the map, that there's also going to be some other exciting elements and safety elements included in this part of the plan in this region. So talk to us about the intersection that's being proposed, and maybe why things like driveway consolidation are so important.
Sure. One of the overall objectives of the project is to reduce what we would call conflict points between where pedestrians may be walking on our new sidewalks and vehicles. And to do that, we want to reduce the number of open driveways up and down the corridor, similar to work that's been done in prior phases. So we anticipate a reduction of almost half, give or take, of the driveways on Auburn Boulevard, in which two different properties might actually utilize one single driveway. And that provides a better experience for the pedestrians. They can better see where people are coming and going. It helps with drivers, so that maybe reducing rear end accidents if you have people stopping so abruptly at so many different entrances. So by consolidating these driveways will really help the overall experience, both for the motors, but also for pedestrians.
Absolutely. And then talk to us about the potential intersection that might also kick off this kind of part of the corridor.
The location that you've identified here in the map is in front of the Big Lots California Burgers location. And with those two major driveways and some of the redevelopment that may be happening over the next few years, we definitely have an opportunity to create a new intersection where that will help with traffic flow in and out of the private developments, but as well as safety improvements on Auburn Boulevard. And to do that, then we'll develop a brand new traffic signalized intersection at this particular location. One of our goals is to integrate the traffic signal into the structure itself to reduce the amount of equipment that we would need to buy, but also to make the corridor have more of an aesthetically pleasing viewpoint from the perspective of drivers and motorists and pedestrians.
Yeah. options. We'll roll into that next, but sorry, I saw a comment. Let's see the options. So I think people are excited. But I think it's great also because we do know that so much redevelopment is coming to this corridor. I mean, thanks a lot to the hard work of GSD to revitalize the streets. We've seen in phase one, businesses being attracted to the corridor, exciting businesses that fit our community. Once we improve and make the streets more safe and walkable and more of a community destination, we know that more businesses will be attracted. So, especially at this corridor, Leslie talked about the transit center that's, right around the corner from this. We know it could be a potential hotspot for our city. So now we will dive into the options and let people see. So I'm going to, this is our survey. And if you want to take it, you can go to ch-info.net. And we do have some visuals here. So Hunter, I'd love for you to talk to us about the first option that we see here. What are some of the features that you'd like to point out?
Sure. I think the most important thing to understand is that this particular first option is inspired by work or a similar like arch that was constructed at Rush Park a few years ago. So we're kind of dovetailing on that particular element for consistency. That was something that was received a lot of accolades itself when it was first built. And so we think that tying this particular structure to what has previously been done in Auburn Blvd is a great opportunity. Highlights in terms of this one, you'll notice that it's got some stone facing on the walls on the sides. It's a structure that is steel that runs across the entire street, welcoming the community. And I think it brings a lot of vibrance. It has some earthy tones to it. It has embedded into it then the city's logo, if you'll notice on the columns themselves. And while difficult to see on the left and on the right, some identifications as far as historic US Highway 40, as well as the Lincoln Highway. So we're really trying to take the history of Citrus Heights and bring it into the present as far as really making this a standout, unique structure.
That's awesome. Yeah, so that's option one. And again, you can go to ch-info.net if you want to take the survey and weigh in on which of these are your favorites. So here's design concept number two. Very different. Walk us through the highlights of this one.
Sure, this one definitely has a different feel, different flavor. You'll notice that the vertical columns and the sides, they reflect a lot more of the inspiration that was constructed at Sylvan Corners. Where we have those vertical pillars that are on the corners. And so this harkens to that kind of a time frame. It's very much a different overall feel to it. Something we definitely want community feedback as far as how this feels, how it looks, and the overall aesthetics. You'll notice that the colors are quite different, not the earthy tones that you might see in option one. So certainly a different feel, but also exciting and vibrant.
Great. And then we'll roll into the third design concept. Talk us through how this one was put together.
This one is a bit different. You'll notice that it's really not inspired by anything that is already kind of pre-existing along the corridor. It's a fresh new take. It's bold. It's a steel structure that spans the entire roadway. So it's got a different feel to it. Maybe a little, you see the different insignias. Again, it does relate back to historic US 40 with some throwbacks there, and also the welcoming sign located right up top. It's front and center. So, but it is a different feel, and we're excited to see what the public will have to say about it.
Yeah, that's great. So talk to us about some of the elements. Those who take the survey as they dive in, they'll definitely catch on that our team is paying attention to things like safety, potential vandalism, longevity, both for, aesthetic and for maintenance costs. So I just listed off a couple elements, but walk us through all the different things you have to think about when you design and kind of put forth a gateway for people to weigh in on.
Sure. Well, the design itself we leave that to some professionals, and that may be the simple part. Agreeing on what it should look like and how much it might cost or other factors that we want to certainly understand. From a long-term maintenance perspective, we want to understand, is this something that's going to be, if it's got paint to it, is it easily touch up, can we easily touch it up, or is it going to be something that is custom fabricated and has, long lead times in terms of maintenance? And what if it gets hit, or if it's vandalized, is it graffiti proof, or what can we do to really minimize the overall project costs, not just up front, but down the road in terms of maintenance. So graffiti was one element. Another one has to do with safety and whether or not this is going to invite perhaps a member of the public who wants to start scaling this or climbing it. So we want to make sure that this is something that is not necessarily friendly for that, but without having other elements that make it so just kind of unattractive. So I think we've done a really good job of blending these other elements into one, and we're excited to see what we can move forward with here.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into this. I was surprised, just the thoughtfulness behind each of the designs. It's really great. So again, if you want to take the survey, I'll plug it for the third time, ch-info.net, to weigh in on the gateway design for phase 2 of our Auburn Boulevard Complete Streets plan. Hunter, how long is this survey going to be live for? How long do folks have?
We've got the next month. So it went live today. It will close on October 1st. We've got various avenues to push the publication out, some electronic signs that are actually installed today on Auburn Boulevard, driving traffic to the website. We've got great information, as you mentioned, on our own website with project updates. So we're excited to get the word out and let the community know that this is for them.
Perfect. I said it before, we're in phase 2. Before we move into questions from the community, maybe Hunter, you can talk to us a little bit about what the timeline for the second part of the corridor looks like.
Great. We anticipate spending the better part of the next year finalizing some of the design elements themselves. We're in the final stages of property procurement, in which, in order to make sure that we have sufficient room for bicycles, pedestrians, and vehicles, we're actually needing to buy property from various property owners up and down the corridor. So we've got some legwork there to finalize, and then we are wrapping up coordination with all the utilities. One of the major improvements about this project will be undergrounding the overhead utility lines. And so that will bring a much fresher view to the overall corridor aesthetically and just from a functional standpoint, where pedestrians don't need to kind of meander or navigate around utility poles. So we've got a lot of work there with SMUD and with the other utility owners. So we'll be spending the bulk of our time over the next year doing that. We anticipate construction starting somewhere in early 2023. So the next year plus is going to be finalizing the overall project design, and then we need to advertise and get contractors to bid on the job and make a recommendation to council as to who to hire. So we're excited. We think we can really move this project along. We understand that it is time consuming, and it does include various agencies that all have their opinions and say, but we're moving it along as quickly as we can.
Excellent. Yeah, I know that was a big pitch in our grant funding application, being able to fully fund the project. You just talked about all the different partners and elements that go into the construction phase, and being, able to do it and bid it out, fully funded at once, I'm sure will help move things along too. So that's awesome. So we'll go ahead and roll into community questions. Again, if you're joining us live, please feel free to comment. If you have questions about the Auburn Boulevard Complete Streets plan or the corridor or the gateway, while we have Hunter and Leslie here live, we'd be happy to walk through any questions that you have. But I did receive a few early on. So a big question that people had that I feel like is a common one whenever the city is doing a project with grant funding. So Leslie, I think I might pitch this one over to you, is why aren't we spending the money for the corridor project on road repairs?
Sure. So with grant funds comes requirements on how you can spend the money. And so the $23 million that we have for this project is slated for this project only and cannot be reallocated for road repairs. Although I am happy to say with this Auburn Boulevard Complete Streets project, we are going to be completing it with a full road resurfacing. So a fresh new layer of asphalt on top of this, in addition to fully reconstructing the entire road. So new curb gutter, new sidewalk, new landscaping is all included with this grant fund. So although we can't spend it on other streets, we are incorporating those elements into the project here.
And that's great. And then Hunter, this person asks, what are the next steps? So after the survey closes with the gateway design, what's going to happen with those selections, and how does the, final design kind of get selected?
Sure. No, great question. What we anticipate doing is analyzing the data, just looking at the overall results and trying to see what patterns or trends that the community wants us to hear from the staff side. We'll then be making a recommendation and taking these results before the city council. We don't have the exact date, but we know it will be one of the two council meetings in the month of October. And what we'll do is have a study session where we can inform the city council of the public's input. Staff will make some recommendations, but ultimately it will be up to the city council to determine what option they want to pursue after receiving all of the input that they can.
All right, great. So look for more news in October on the gateway selection process. And then this question comes to us from Instagram. Thank you, Kelsey. She asks, what element is most important about the design of the gateway? And I know that's a little personal, so I'd love to pitch this to both of you, Hunter and Leslie. We'll start with you, Leslie. What element is most important to you?
Sure. As the engineering manager, I feel that ensuring that we meet and construct the gateway treatment within our existing budget is really important. Also, long-term maintenance costs and availability, as Hunter mentioned, to procure materials. We don't want to have things sitting out there for a long time in the future should they become damaged. But equally important, I think having a gateway that represents the city and providing that unique identity is just as important.
Yeah, that's great. So budget and placemaking identity. I like those two elements. Hunter, what about you?
I'm going to dovetail off of the identity. I really do think this is an opportunity for the city to stand out, kind of make a name for itself and what it brings to the Auburn Boulevard area and to the city as a whole. Frankly, this is a standout opportunity to really identify ourselves in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited about this project, and I want to thank you both for your time today. Before we wrap up, because it looks like we've answered all the community questions, is there anything that you guys wanted to add while we're live with you today? Leslie, we'll start with you again.
Sure. Yeah, I just want to mention Auburn Boulevard is only one of many corridors that the city is currently working to upgrade. We're also, we were recently awarded grant funds for improvements on Old Auburn Road, San Juan Avenue, Greenback Lane, and many of our projects are just getting off the ground. So if anyone is interested to become or learn more about those projects, I would encourage you to go to our General Services CIP website, sign up to receive updates, or of course, give us a call at 727-4770. That's the General Services number, and we'd be more than happy to share the details.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll drop that information into the comments section too, so anyone watching can click over and learn more. But yeah, lots of exciting projects happening in the city. Hunter, anything you want to add before we wrap up?
I just want to put a plug in that we really appreciate everybody's participation in this. This is very much a community project. It is not simply the city kind of wanting to push its own agenda. We really do want to hear from everyone. So we would appreciate your feedback. Please take the survey.
Awesome. Great. Well, thanks everyone who joined us live today. Hunter, Leslie, thank you so much for your time. And we'll plug it one last time, ch-info.net if you want to take the city's gateway survey. Thanks for joining us today. I hope everyone has a great week. Bye-bye.